All right, everybody, it's Sunday. I'm going to give you the after comments of the fights last night. I went to Bombshells and they didn't have boxing because they had preseason football and it wasn't even the Houston Texans playing. What's up with that? Well, the two fighters on the card were two British fighters, Rafferty and Chamberlain, right? Rafferty had like 19 wins, 17 knockouts, so he was the heavier puncher. You guess by looking at the record. Chamberlain was older. He had like 21 fights, 11 wins, or 11 knockouts, so, obviously he was the boxer, right? And he was moving and punching. He knew how to move and punch. Roy Jones Sr. used to teach us how to move and punch. I'm a comer, I go forward, bob and weaving, but I knew how to, because of Roy Jones Sr., I could move forward and backwards, bobbing and weaving, which even James Toney doesn't do, right? Isn't that interesting? So the fight last night, Chamberlain, it was a split decision. The first judge called it for the edge to Chamberlain, and the other two fighters called it even. Oh, what's up with that, right? What is up with that? It's all political. Okay, there was a taint or a slant from those two other judges that just couldn't give the win to Chamberlain. It was a majority draw. What's up with that? Okay, that should have been, equally weighted scoring. Should have went to Chamberlain because the one guy, the first judge, said Chamberlain won, and the other two guys basically nullified themselves by calling it even, both of them, right? So Chamberlain should have won that fight, but they didn't. They called it a draw, right? There's something definitely wrong with judging. It's political, and it's been that way from ever since I've been watching boxing, right? Every weekend you're going to see a controversial decision, I swear, right? It's the gifts just keep on coming, okay? Here's what. It was a good fight, okay? One was a southpaw, one was orthodox. Chamberlain was a southpaw. Rafferty was orthodox, right? And and those make good fights, right? They were working. American fighters, they have an ability to they put on more of a show, okay? But I'll tell you this: British fighters and Australians fit in that category. Australians, British, and Hispanics, they want the same thing. They want a fight. They want guys running away, right? They don't want they want guys to bring it. They want people who are coming to fight, right? And they'll take it and give it, and that's what they want, back and forth. That's what they want. Okay, it's known in the boxing world. You want to have Mexicans on the card because if it's a choice between going to a fight and paying the rent, they're going to go to the fight, and it's that culturally important to them, right? So it's it's commonly known in the industry. But this decision, these it's just politically, those two fighters, there's two judges that called the fight a draw last night. I mean, the 12th round, Chamberlain rocked Rafferty, all right, but he was not a closer. He didn't know to finish, right? And the American fighters, you get somebody, you ring their bell, they're gonna take you out, right? They're gonna close you, right? And all that is just knowing how to do it, right? Okay, knowing, what the sequence is, and that guy's gonna go down, right? And if you don't know that, you're gonna have long nights. You're not gonna get to go home early, You get paid the same whether you knock the guy out the first round or if you do the fourth round, right? Or the 10th round, whatever. They pay you for the whole fight, right? They don't deduct because you knocked the guy out early, right? So Roy learned that, right? Roy learned that the Cuban boxers, they weren't always in the best shape. So they would come at you and try to take you out the first round because they couldn't go the distance, right? Because they weren't in that good a condition. All right, so that's next week. They are going to have fights at Bombshells. I had to catch this fight on the replay on YouTube, and because they didn't show it last night on the Zone. It was on the Zone, but they didn't show it at Bombshells last night. All right, have a great night, a great day.